Hey guys, welcome back to the Conscious Kingdom. We are pleased to bring to you another topic request from you fabulous people out there watching in again. So just so you know how important it is, write what it is you want us to talk about and we will talk about it, right?
Yes, exactly. We are so delighted to have you back here again. And today the topic is success. What does success actually mean?
Yes, the meaning of success. Are we taught to believe that success is something outside of ourselves, and success is by being driven what society tells us what success is, by having the flashy cars, the properties, the bigger, the better? What is success really? Success, the opposite of failure, is the status of having achieved and accomplished an aim or objective. Being successful means the achievement of desired visions and planned goals.
The dictionary describes success as the following: attaining wealth, prosperity, and/or fame. Now, this is the dictionary definition of the success, but the spectrum of its development varies depending on what you value most in your life. So if, for example, for one person, success is determined by how much money they have, for another person, it might be the relationships that they have, the health, the achievements in sports, and any other hobbies and things that they deem as important to them.
Well, again, this is whose ideology is it that of the success that you've learned is success? Is it your parents? Is it society? Have you actually stopped and thought, what is it that I would want for myself in order to feel successful? When is the last time you actually stopped and did this? There was, we were talking earlier about a documentary of parents' drive of their children's success, Varsity Blues, I think, on Netflix. And the parents' need and drive for their children to be successful. So it wasn't for their children to be successful, it was so that they don't seem like a failure of being parents. So they projected out onto the children, which put so much pressure on them that led to some of these parents being arrested and put into prison. And I'm talking high profile celebrities who were literally caught black and white bribing officials to make sure that their child got into the top universities, because if they didn't, God forbid, what would it make the parents look like? And when you're dealing with that kind of pressure, is it the children who want this, or the projection of the parents wanting that pressure? If the parents are feeling that way, and they are the parents of these children about a loving environment, then what kind of society is out there if it's deemed it's made up of all these different types of people? That pressure to be put on you to somehow achieve some sort of amazing feats because you are not enough. Ultimately, it comes down to that. If you are not succeeding at doing something, then you are not enough to get something else. So it's I remember hearing about this and reading in this book, when the child comes to you, and I see Eric coming up to us with his painting. It's not to say, oh, well done for the painting, to the point where it's about the painting. It's put the painting aside. You know, you're awesome as you are, as a human being, and we love you for you. It's great that you can also produce things like this. So they're not identified with the I'm enough because I brought this. They are enough because they are enough, because they are there. And it's reminding yourself, going, how am I talking to myself? Am I putting myself under the same pressure that I need to achieve something? I need to create something in order to be enough.
Yeah. Well, sociologically speaking, this feeling of not enough has been the primary driver of progress as it is, because there was this innate kind of feeling that needed to be filled in all the time, and it was that created that need to perform better and better and better. So we can't completely condone this thirst to become better, because in the end of the day, this is what drives our progression. But if we were to talk about success on a more spiritual meaning, Tony Robbins says that the ultimate success is fulfillment. And being fulfilled in certain areas of your life can be equal to success anywhere else in any other areas for somebody else. It all depends on how fulfilled and complete you feel in a certain area of your life, or in all areas of your life. So say, for example, for me, the ultimate success for me would be to be speaking authentically from the heart and having the courage to do so at any point in time. So that is freedom, really. Freedom to me is the ultimate success. Freedom for me is the ultimate fulfillment. And freedom of expression of my children is the dream come true for me.
You know, hearing that, it resonates, which is beautiful, because that would be my definition of success, which is ultimately the freedom to speak your truth, to have the space and to allow yourself to be able to speak. And speak when you are, like what we're doing now, channeling, is that freedom to express means success, because it means you're created enough healing within yourself to be able to express yourself, which if you can do that, then your reality will shift based on your own self-expression, which is ultimately success. You're not having to do it because you want to be perceived as anything. You're free from what other people think of you, which is ultimate freedom, which is ultimate success. And Tony Robbins said also the ultimate definition of failure is to be successful and unfulfilled.
Yeah.
So are you successful under the eyes and guise of society, but do you feel fulfilled? Well, that is a reflection. Are you doing it for gratification outside of yourself, or are you doing it because it's pure intentions to serve other people?
Yeah. You know, me being the child of the Soviet Union and the 90s, I have seen the rise and the fall, say, for example, of my dad, who has gone through breaking times of real poverty to really being able to rise quite high up. And I am of the belief that the times that he has sacrificed in order to provide for his family have eventually led him to a heartbreak, because that amount of money, no matter how much amount of money it is, if you haven't felt enough and you haven't filled the hole within you of the ultimate fulfillment, as we said before, then it doesn't feel like success at all. All it is more responsibility of the upkeep that you put on top of you. So I am so grateful having been able to witness that, because that showed to me, as much of a success as my father was to the outside world, me as the daughter, the only success and fulfillment that I would wish for him would be to feel happy, and to be happy with who he is and feel accepted for who he is, and having left this world not feeling that, but feeling ultimately loved and accepted for who he is. So this to me maybe is a tribute to him, because he really was a successful man. But I would like to carry that forward and really let not just you guys, but also my children really take it in and reevaluate for themselves in the future. What is it that we are actually chasing? Would I have liked to my father, earn another, however many more, dollars, or would I have liked to have him around for the next 10, 15, 20 years? Because the stress and the responsibility of having earned that living has come with the very, very heavy burden of having to sustain it.
It's like a big emotional dump that's left behind, because then what is left behind can be seen as like a emotional pollution, the feeling of guilt, the cost of someone's burdens of creating that wealth is then left with you. You're having to deal with that wealth as well as the emotions that came along with it, because money is energy. And then you have to clean that money at the cost of your own experiences, right? And when you're going through that cycle, this is a spiritual lesson, not to be judged. This is why a lot of people they think they want success, but how do you handle it? When someone wins a lottery, the statistics show that at least I think 80% lose it all because they can't sustain it. They become a consumer and they go crazy and spend it because they haven't established the I think the experience and wisdom of what it is to sustain and hold money, which ultimately is the definition of success. It's not about how much you have, it's how you manage your money, but how you use it to express your highest values. And when you do this and you understand who you are, then you can use that money to express who you are in a way that means that it's sustainable. Because a lot of times people are like sieves and they don't understand it becomes it goes through the values. Whatever you value at the highest, money will go there first, and it will filter down to what you value least. And most people don't value money per se, the finances, business. They value like family.
Basically, the energy goes to where you value it the most,
Yeah.
right? Another question to ask yourself, like when you see these success stories, and you see these people really having these incredible fortunes, one question to ask yourself is, how did they get there? You know, how many people did they have to hurt, or, you know, to screw over, or you know, how many times was there a success in their favor at the expense of somebody else? To me, that is an ultimate failure, because in this world, you know, you might be getting some money in your piggy bank, but on the other side, in the karmic world, you're actually minusing yourself, and you're minusing yourself so much that you're going to have to pay at least 10 times just to recuperate the balance that you have been given in the beginning. So, you know, this is really a very conscious question. You know, at what price does success come? And does winning at the expense of somebody else really count as success, or is this the ultimate moral failure?
Yeah, right? And even, you know, on the bigger scale, you know, like capitalism, companies like Walmart could be seen as successful because they make billions, and McDonald's has recently made billions and during the COVID times. But if you're looking at it within that spectrum, and politicians look at, you know, this as being success and this is what everyone should strive for, what are they really teaching you? To become really successful, create lots of money, show everybody you're making a lot of money, but the workforce that's allowed you to earn that money should be put at the bottom and not even given enough, and then they actually are on the dole getting money from the government because their full-time paycheck doesn't actually subsidize for their living. To me, that doesn't seem like success. Success is a company that not only does it create wealth and it gives back to the community, but it can at least give back to its own workforce that allowed it to become successful. It's dividing the wealth in a way that is appreciating those who've allowed them to get there, because it's a team effort. And I think we're getting a little mixed up in society about what success is, and we're really, you know, projecting onto these billionaires and people like this. But if these companies are making so much money and the staff are not even being looked after, I don't see that as definition of success. I see that as an illness. I see that there's a problem systematically within the system, that our idea of success needs to be shifted, that we at least show these companies that you showing these numbers is not a definition of success. What you're doing is rub it in everybody's faces that you're stealing from people, rather than giving back this money to the people who've helped you get there. It's not a self-made person doing this or that. It's always a team effort, and everybody should be recognized, not being the wolf who's been dressing up in sheep's clothing and pretending to do all these amazing things, but really to put all their money in their pockets to then go off, and while everybody else is left in the mud.
Yeah. And also, you know, how successful have we been in giving back to our planet? How successful have we been in sustaining the very core of our existence? How successful have we been in honoring women and keeping a very fair, equal, you know, distribution between men and women? How much success was there in raising awareness in, you know, child abuse, in, you know, trafficking? All of these things that are ultimately the cancer of the world, they seem to be, you know, swept away. And those activists that are fighting, you know, to really make the world aware and make conscious choices to stop that, are not really getting the limelight, not the limelight, but the recognition, the recognition they deserve. So really what we're doing here is really challenging what you know, the most common way of looking at success is, and really asking you, each one of you, to look within yourself and really define for yourself, what values does your heart answer to? What does it mean to you being a successful human being, a successful, I don't know, citizen, successful mother, a successful, you know, partner? it is, in the end of the day, your own value scale that is developing as the time goes by, depending on what you're internalizing within you. But in the end of the day, this is what you are leaving behind as the core of your existence. And I urge, each one of you to make it a loving act of self-expression. Success isn't measured by money or power or social rank. Success is measured by your discipline and inner peace. Mike Ditka. However difficult life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at. Stephen Hawking. Well, Stephen Hawking, I think, is one of those examples that shows that, he might not have been the most successful man physically, but he was successful at really giving value to society at a very large scale. So, I think it's actually a call to really widen our perspective on what it is being successful, right? What it is being fulfilled. And by widening the perspective, we're giving it a chance to flourish in a way that can surprise us and therefore really encourage evolution.
The more attached you are to things, or what do we call it, if you physical or materialistic things, is that what
Material attachments.
Material attachments, the less free you are, because they are the things that ultimately are the chains that keep you from expressing yourself, because you may have the fear of losing it, right? So you have to then stay in the illusion of speaking whatever you're speaking in order to make sure you keep whatever it is you think you can't do without, right? So if you are then caught up in this, like Hawkins could have easily, lost his mind when his whole physical body was deteriorating. It was whatever universe sending something out there, a lesson for him. He didn't let it knock him off his course. In fact, he doubled down and really went into where he was within his mind and didn't have any of the distractions, even from his own body, to make sure that he could continue serving humanity as a whole, which he dutifully did in a beautiful way. The theory of everything, portrayed beautifully by the main actor, really showcases his journey, his struggles, and how he managed to continue through this. This, again, is a definition of success. We're given challenges in our life, and how we take it on, how we perceive it rather than reacting to it, really gives us an indication of what we're capable of achieving. So you can be given that challenge and you may not know how to deal with it right now, but somebody else has already gone through it, and how they've come through it is a definition of success. Have they let it destroy them, or have they got on with it and carried on and able to get away from themselves, because they're now looking to serve others. They're not suffering because it's about them. They're not a victim of the circumstance that happened. And there's so many people out there who are showcasing how to do this, rather than thinking that you're a victim and, oh, why me, is going out there and seeing how these people have done such beautiful things, and they've left the trails. They're right there, and you've seen all of these stories. So what is the story that's keeping you from feeling or attaining success? Is it because you think you'll never live up to what your parents thought you could do? Or is it society thinks you can do, or your partner thinks you can do? Whatever it is, what do you want to do? What is your definition of success? And really becoming clear about that.
Beautifully said. And actually the fear of success can be just as powerful, is just as powerful as the fear of failure. A lot of people subconsciously sabotage themselves in order not to experience success, because it's a very unfamiliar feeling and they don't know how to handle it. So they're coming up with all the different excuses to keep themselves away from success, and running out of maybe even avenues and stories to keep themselves from success, but being successful at keeping themselves away from success. If you're thinking about it, you're 100% success story. You have 100% survival rate, and it all depends at the way you're looking at it. The power is always with you. The beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And since we're still speaking about the subject, divorce. How do people see divorce? Do people see divorce as failure, or do people see divorce as success? Well, if you think about it in a way of maybe a couple falling apart, yes, perhaps it's a failure, but it might be actually a success at getting your own sovereignty. It might be a success at really venturing out as who you truly are, success at facing your fears, success at setting yourself free. Everything has the same percentage of success as it does of failure. It all depends on how you look at it. So in the end of the day, you can define how successful you are yourself. It's just because of the standards of society, have its specific labels out there. It doesn't mean that you can't break through them. And if anything, we urge you to break through them. We urge you to pioneer and define your own success and really own it. Owning your choices is success. That is probably one of the most powerful and most inspiring people are those who have owned themselves. And that was ultimately the success.
And it really is a matter of just changing your perspective of where you are in that moment, in that time, because as Julia's telling you now, really you can deem it as two people in a relationship. One, when it breaks down, one's going, thank you, thank you, thank you, and the other one is going, oh my God, what's happened? It's a shift of perspective. The other person can look at it and go, this is a new beginning. Or they can say, oh, this is the end. As Tony Robbins says it himself, the three things that cause suffering is the feeling of loss, the feeling of less, and the feeling of never. So it's the illusion that we've lost something, we've got less of something, and we're never going to have it again. Which, if you look at whatever's going through your life at that time, through that perspective, of course, you're going to feel like you are going to suffer because of those three things. But if you really look at life and energy per se, there is no such thing as anything's being lost. It just transforms. And if you have the wisdom and the hindsight to see that energy transforming to something else, then you realize that you're not losing anything. It's just a continuation. It's life doing its thing. As we were learning yesterday, is it Samsara, Russian music video. Samsara is the circle of life. So again, it's parents echoing through time for what they leave from their children, their children's children, their children's children's children. We're leaving an impression. What impression do we want to leave behind? What is it that we want to give? Do we want to hold on to all of our stuff and all of the pain and regrets and pass that on to our children? Or do we want to let that go and heal it and give full expression and a different meaning of what success is to the children, which is ultimately them expressing themselves for who they are, not what we want them to express, a part of ourselves that we feel inadequate in some way. We're talking about success and different definitions and everything else. There's many different modalities out there. Where do you feel you're lacking in your life right now that you'd like to feel more successful in? Maybe look at that. Maybe you're successful in business already, but you feel like you're lacking in spirituality, or you feel like you're lacking in relationships. If that's the case, then obviously look to learn about relationships or spirituality. And if you are lacking in business, which a lot of people are, then of course learn about business. And one of the tools that we've gone through apart from my life experiences is Tony Robbins, someone that I've worked closely with and represented on stage. Felt very blessed to be able to do so. Is his business mastery event, boom, which gives you a whole manual on how to really be coached onto increasing what it is you already love to do, but how do you create wealth for yourself and for your family and your community in a way that is quite simple, in matter of fact. It's basically if you're going to a dark room and you need someone to switch a light on, well, that's what it does. It helps you see, and we're not pushing it for any reason apart from this is something that we've gone through ourselves. So Tony Robbins, of course, is a business master. But I also remember Tony saying that he wishes he start on the spiritual path first. So he's gone the other way around. There's not the way. It's not Tony Robbins is a definition of success. He is still striving for something. That's why he's driven so much. There must be something within himself that maybe a particular void that he needs to fill in some way. That's what drives him, right? But you've got to find what is successful to you. Some people don't want to travel 256 days of the year to different countries to speak on stages. You know, some people might go, that is not my definition of success. So again, it really means finding out what your definition of success is and using the tools that are out there rather than staying as a victim going, how do I do this? What do I do? You know, and feeling disheartened because everything is out there. But it all comes down to you. How much do you want it? And do you really know how to keep it when you're given it?
Beautiful. Well, I believe that mastering the state of abundance is the ultimate success. So that means being able to see where you are, where you have enough, what you're grateful for, more than what you don't have and what you wish you had more of. So it really is a nod to your spirit. It's a commitment to your spirit that is abundant, that is unlimited. To be able to bring that forward to this earth, to life, is the ultimate success. Being able to experience the bliss in relationships and in family, in appreciating the world, taking that in, being able to give it to the communities, that is an experience of abundance, a blissful experience of abundance. And that to me is the ultimate success. And this is what I wish for you. I wish for you to feel worthy and deserving enough to experience that level of success that is not defined by anybody on the outside, but by your own feeling of peace and calmness and acceptance and self-love. I pray that that our world will see that as the ultimate success. Until then, well, here we are talking about this as much as we need to.
And just, this really is bringing inside of me something to share of, dropping the swords, dropping the fight, stop living from the head and start going towards your heart, because from the heart is where the ultimate success really is. And for many men out there, I know how hard it can be when you're holding on to so much of the past, pain, rejection, all of those things that we want to then protect a part of ourselves that maybe is very vulnerable. And the best thing you can possibly do for yourself is to drop your defense in the sword and allow love in, which is cliche as it is, right? But it does take, as Winston Churchill says, success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. So it does take courage to drop the guard. It does take courage to not listen to what the mind is saying, but what the heart is yearning for, which is to be heard. And when you really go to the heart, you may feel emotions that come up, sadness, anger, whatever it is. Allow it to come up so you can create the space for success, your definition of it, to come in, which will be a self-expression of who you truly are, because you haven't got the mind getting in the way of it anymore. You're only just living from the heart, which is really the true success. When you are living through the heart, find the very vehicles that allow you to channel, so your mind is out the way. And for us, speaking on the video, talking to you, thank you so much for allowing us to speak to you, because selfishly allows me to bypass the Alex brain and speak from the heart to you, which I know is a pure intention, because I don't need anything from you guys, thankfully. We don't need anything from you. The fact that you give us this platform for us to speak our truth. Thank you so much for checking us out and watching this throughout the end. And hopefully we've helped you, and it's raised even more questions so that you can jot them down, throw them at us, so that we can do our best to express from our experiences and whatever we're channeling to give you the clarity you need.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, just choose your heart over your mind, and then your life will change. Much love.
Mwah.